O.J. Mayo's mother's here tonight. First time she's made the trip out from Huntington, West Virginia. She said her son likes the nice hot weather out here at UCLA. Lineups tonight, the big note is Luke, Richard, and Bob Mute returns. He missed last weekend's trip to Washington with an ankle sprain, but he's back and he's starting for Ben Howland tonight.
Yeah, got to start him. You warm him up. He's warm, he's loose, he's limber. Get him out here. You don't want that thing to cool down.
And USC, the other side, they're missing a big man. Daniel Hackett, a key, had 8 assists in the win at Pauley a month ago. He is out indefinitely with a stress fracture in the back. It's going to put a lot of pressure on those 5. It's going to be almost Iron Man.
Yeah, especially the backcourt. Angelo Johnson did have a 17-point game at the beginning of the year against Mercer, so they're going to need him to provide some offensive production.
Well, we welcome all of you to the Galen Center in Los Angeles on the campus of USC. Big news already in college hoops tonight with Duke falling at Wake Forest. And USC now at home trying to see if they can sweep UCLA.
We've got the JV game over with. It's time for the varsity, ladies and gentlemen.
I love it.
Settle in.
I love it. Look at it. And we've just flipped on and joined us again. The story tonight on the USC campus is black. And I'm sorry, my head's spinning a little bit. This is just hard to digest here at first.
A little disconcerting, but they've got their skin-tight Nike-issued gear going on. UCLA, the loose-fitting Adidas-issued gear. So it's a lot of cross-town stuff going on. A lot of rivalries happening out on the floor at the same time.
And Tim Floyd, and he spoke this morning to us about just how thin his team is with Daniel Hackett's injury, and who knows what Tim Floyd's got in that head as a game plan, as some sort of a scheme to try and see if he can pull off the unthinkable and beat UCLA twice in a year. And this is a team coming off back-to-back Final Fours.
Haven't swept the ground since the 04 season, the Trojans have it. UCLA starting out in their motion offense. SC man-to-man defense.
Boy, and a great screen right away. Love with a vicious pick to give Josh Shipp the shot.
And you're going to see a lot of this. Darren Collison trying to pick up Angelo Johnson. 94 feet ball pressure, a big key for UCLA defensively. Obscure the passing lanes.
So freshman guard Angelo Johnson, much better defensive matchup for Collison. Similar in height, Hackett's about 6'5", but opposed to a much tougher assignment for Collison. And there's Westbrook stripping Mayo. Collison trailing, and then blocked from behind, and a foul on Davon Jefferson of USC.
A little bit of a delayed call on the block. The great defense at the other end by UCLA. They want to initiate transition basketball with great defense. Russell Westbrook right here. O.J. Mayo gets a little careless with the basketball. He's got the long arms, the quick reaction, comes up with the steal.
And it's Russell Westbrook for UCLA that gets the defensive call on O.J. Mayo. Collison, a terrific foul shooter, missing the front. And it was watching UCLA shoot. Chase Standback, their freshman, was playing O.J. Mayo. And everything was about Westbrook. Defend.
Yeah, just get up in his face on the perimeter. When he gets it down in the post, he's going to see double teams. They want to do a great job, UCLA, a really sound job of taking O.J. Mayo's offense out of this game, which is not going to be an easy thing to do because he is such a creative basketball player who's got great range in the jump shot. That's the great equalizer for him.
Tim Floyd up off the bench, putting motion in play. Marcus, do you think USC is going to try to run shot clock down short in the game?
Yeah, with Daniel Hackett not in the game, Trojans being short-handed.
Taj Gibson.
Tempo will be a big factor for USC. For both teams, really. UCLA thought that they lacked patience that first game, up by 6 points late in the game, taking quick shots down the stretch.
A good thing, if there is such for USC, with the thin benches, they've had a week off.
Now here, USC more in a box and one, as opposed to the triangle and two that we hear so much about. They've got 4 guys with zone defense.
The ruling was that Love held 1 foot down, so no travel. Love with his own follow. Gibson tips it, Mayo running for SC. And a nice flash from behind by Collison to break up the fast break.
Again, O.J. Mayo awareness. Nice job on the back flow. The tip out of bounds by Darren Collison.
Dick Cartmel lead official tonight, working with Randy McCall and Michael Eggers, and immediately taking charge. Off the inbounds, UCLA with another steal. Westbrook. And Westbrook coast to coast. And the finish doesn't go. Gibson clears it. Watching Mbamute running for UCLA. Looks to be running all right. He's got heavy tape on that ankle.
He's somewhere in the 80th percentile. I didn't want to put an exact number on it. Just a couple of things that he can't do planning off that left foot, the left ankle that he injured.
Reach in foul here, and Mbamute. One thing to watch for Marcus, I think, tonight, play in the Pac-10 got a little rough the last couple of weeks, and Supervisor Bill McCabe, in fact, is here tonight, and the word has gone out a little bit to tighten up, to try to not let the rough play, which UCLA saw a ton of at Washington last Sunday, did not let that continue.
Oh, that explains that foul called on Chase Budinger against Rick Lopez, isn't it?
Not to Arizona, it doesn't.
Not at all, not to me either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can understand the thought process, but again, we're getting close to tournament time. My thing is, like, the closer you get to tournament time, the more physical I think the game should be allowed to be played. And not to the extent of just killing each other out there. Done a nice job there. That's what Mbamute brings to the table. Offensive rebounding, kind of the nose for the ball approach to the game of basketball, getting you some easy baskets when your offense breaks down.
Well, that's perfect, Marcus. He's a second compliment to Love in there.
Yeah.
It's not just Love on the offensive board.
And they're not as big as a Boyer or James Keefe. He's a much more mobile, active offensive rebounder.
And there, Love defensive rebound and a little elbow swing. It was seen by most of the 10,000 USC partisans here. Love had an open 12-footer, didn't take it. Ship. And it's O.J. Mayo.
See, Josh Ship has got to be careful because open shots will be few and far between.
Well, that's a guy that USC needs to get going. Dwight Lewis, 2 weeks ago up in Eugene, had a career-best game, and he has not played well since.
No, he has not, but Dwight can do that. Dwight is doing a nice job shadowing Josh Ship. He's playing him man-to-man defense. Angelo Johnson pressuring out top against Darren Collison, and then kind of falling back in the zone, in his zone area. So it's more of a boxing one than the triangle two that we've heard so much about with Tim Floyd and USC.
Westbrook rimmed out. Oh, and Love punched the rebound out of Gibson's hands. And Collison buries it.
Smart play, Darren Collison, improving the distance. Could have taken about an 18-foot shot. Takes the one dribble in, makes it a 14-foot free throw.
And there was Love, even though he doesn't get a rebound. He created the play, and now Love to the court. How about that? Oh, and then the follow by Ship.
And how about that? Great hustle first off on the part of Kevin Love. Get down and buff the mahogany, get down and dirty. Knock the ball into the front court for UCLA, and a great job by Josh Ship.
And then Love intercepts the lob from Mayo.
You have to really be impressed with the activity of UCLA defensively. They are disrupting USC at every turn at the offensive end for the Trojans.
Gibson for the rebound, and USC really unhappy. Love going up. They wanted Love to get called.
It's a good no call. He extended the arms, wasn't a lot of body contact. May have appeared so from this angle that the coaches are looking at that play from.
Nice dive. Up and under by Dwight Lewis.
That is up and under extraordinaire by Dwight Lewis on the right box. And he is off to a great start for USC, which could spell trouble for UCLA. They need someone to pick up the slack for no Daniel Hackett being on the floor. And O.J. Mayo receiving the kind of defensive attention he's going to get. Once again, boxing one principles for USC.
Boy, and that's big. And Mbamute hitting 2 shots for the Bruins.
Yeah, nice offensive rebound, put back that time a medium-range jump shot. And Luke Richard and Mbamute had not shot the ball well in practice the past couple of days, just coming back from that ankle injury. He missed 13 straight days of practices and games.
Leanin Jefferson takes him in. Davon Jefferson, freshman who had 25 points and 9 boards in the win at Pauley. Westbrook back and a foul, and that will get us after a long stretch. 6 minutes gets us to our first. Yeah, I think the players agree with you. Gets us to our first break as Josh Ship here with the flush finish. UCLA up 2. Pac-10 Hoops presented by KFC, the first of 3 straight Sunday nights. We'll have rivalry Pac-10 battles for you with Marcus Johnson and Michael Eaves, Ted Robinson at the Galen Center. And, well, we've talked about this all year long. The Pac-10 is a very close second still in the conference RPI. You know, somebody said something to me interesting the other day, Marcus, said you could make a case. If you were just going to say the best 64 teams in the country, you could draw a line right there and say the 9 above it would be among the best 64 in the country. And I'm probably not going to get 9 in the tournament. We understand that. It doesn't work that way. But that's pretty compelling argument.
Yeah, it is indeed. And you saw how good that 9th place team, Washington, the Huskies, is. They just out UCLA'd UCLA last week in Seattle.
And the ferocity of this conference noted. Like Tim Floyd pointed that out today. He had been given some research by somebody, Kevin Love, getting worked on. He banged himself up on his dive for a loose ball. But somebody made some research and said that, for example, Cal and Washington are going to play 14 of their 18 Pac-10 games this year against teams that have been ranked in the top 25. And no conference in America can even come close to them. So that's where tonight, for example, a USC that's trying to make sure they stay in the first half of the conference. Another win, a signature win over UCLA could really strengthen their cause.
Yeah, so this game has so many implications, not just the rivalry, the payback for UCLA.
Good feed, and then UCLA reacts, and the ball goes out off Jefferson. It was a combination of Monterreal and Collison. Somebody got a hand in there.
Good double, good dive, but a great reaction defensively for UCLA. And that's the proper move by Davon Jefferson. Dive to the basket on any aggressive double teams in the post.
UCLA leads the conference in steals. They had 15 steals when these teams played in Pauley. And it caused 5 USC turnovers already.
15 steals, 25 offensive rebounds.
There's more.
It would seem that they would win that game. There's another offensive rebound. And Ben Howland talked to us earlier today, Ted, about resting Kevin Love a little bit more. That he wanted to try and keep him around the 28 to 29 minute mark as opposed to having him up around 32, 33 minutes. So he's give him a nice breather during this stretch.
And it didn't happen, especially last Sunday in Seattle. Bruins, UCLA did not use its bench much. Trying to overcome a deficit. Beat Washington. Didn't happen. Double down. Nice pass out by Gibson.
Well, we saw a lot of that in the first game. As Davon Jefferson, of his 10 field goals, 1 was a jump shot. The rest were layups and dunks. Davon Jefferson airplane. He soars, he scores.
But the interesting to finish to what you're talking about, Marcus, so already Monterreal and Aboya in off the UCLA bench. USC no changes yet. Can Ben Howland try to play a war of attrition tonight?
Well, and we saw Kevin O'Neal do that with Arizona here a few games back as USC just wore down the stretch.
And this will be all. You see all the black shirts of USC in there for the rebound. Mayo back. Mayo has not scored yet. And Gibson sets up Angelo Johnson. Quick pass. You get an assist for that?
No, he's not. But Ben Howland's going to give an assist to his team and call a timeout and try and calm down this USC crowd. It's becoming a dunk fest. First Davon Jefferson, now Ty Gibson on the air ball by Angelo Johnson.
Well, as you would imagine when it's a rivalry. As they say, always you throw everything out. Look at the recent years. 0-2, it's Sam Clancy, remember him? 19 points in an SC win. Last second miss by John Crispin, USC by 1 in 0-3. Desmond Farmar, 9 in overtime for USC in 0-4. You were probably at every one of these, weren't you?
Yeah, quite a few of those. I remember that Desmond Farmar flopping like a salmon on the floor.
Jordan Farmar celebrating, and then Lodrick Stewart in 06 for USC in a 3-point win. And of course, last year here at the Galen Center, the first one, Aaron Aflalo's game winner.
And Aaron Aflalo, I mean, just watching him there knock down that shot to win the game here at Galen Center. It's one of the areas of toughness that the Bruins are really missing with no Aaron Aflalo in the lineup. He brought that toughness defensively every single possession. And UCLA's defensive field goal percentage in Pac-10 play up to 45%.
45. And that's the big thing, Marcus. And we talked about this earlier today. You know, everybody thinks defense UCLA. It is USC, which led this conference in defensive field goal percentage last year and is second to Stanford this year, 39-7. And Mute bump, ball free. Lewis has it. No on the finish. Mayo clears.
I don't think these three officials read McCabe's memo, because they are allowing both teams to get away with some things physically. That last time Mute was landed on, no foul called.
And we've got a timeout here. Timeout taken by USC. Davon Jefferson called a timeout. And I'm not sure that's exactly what Tim Floyd wanted, but here's where you now that's advantage, disadvantage.
And then he loses the basketball of Mayo with the contact. Now that time, Davon Jefferson, Tim Floyd was actually signaling an offensive set that looked eerily similar to a 20-second timeout.
That's what Davon Jefferson thought. It was interesting, Marcus. Davon Jefferson, freshman, who earlier this week, a lot of stories here about, as you mentioned earlier, the bulletin board material. Apparently Josh Shipp said something the first time before the game. USC took offense, and USC was going at great pains to talk about how we weren't going to say anything before the game this week. We're not going to say anything before the game. And then at the end of the story in the Los Angeles Times, Davon Jefferson says, quote, "Tell UCLA to come with something." Tim Floyd was pulling his hair out.
Yeah, no excuses, no concussions, none of that. Tell us to show me something. That's what Davon Jefferson said. The best laid plans of mice and men.
So I asked Tim about that earlier today. He downplayed. He said, look, everybody's going to be fired up enough tonight. Nobody's going to be worried tonight about anything somebody said in the paper.
Well, you know, it's Muhammad Ali or somebody said, it's not bragging as long as you can back it up. So he comes out and has another game like he had at Carter Pavilion.
That's right.
It's okay. We have 25-9.
And Jefferson's going to take James Keefe in. Rebound. Gibson.
Nice.
Todd Gibson. First USC lead.
Haven't seen enough of that out of Taj this year, but that's what he did exceptionally well last year as a freshman. Just out-battled bigger opponents on the backboard.
Looks like triangle and two here.
Got a man-to-man defender on Russell Westbrook, a man-to-man defender on Darren Collison. They are back into the triangle and two.
Yeah, Tim Floyd got him. I thought he made the signal, triangle and two. That's what they did. Foul is on UCLA's James Keefe. We'll have some more backstory, interesting backstory of these two fabulous freshmen when we return to Los Angeles.
The Galen Center, where USC leads number 6 UCLA 15-14 here early in the first half. Michael is with you courtside. You know, since those two guys, Kevin Love and OJ Mayo, have come to LA, a lot of people talk about the contrast between the two, but actually they're very good friends. A friendship that started in the 8th grade in an AAU tournament, and it continues today. Let's take you back to April 3rd of last year, the Magic's Round Ball Classic in Chicago. Both Kevin Love and OJ Mayo were the MVPs of their respective teams. Both had very good games. The key, though, they actually roomed together despite being on opposite teams, and after that game, the story goes, they stayed up to about 4 o'clock in the morning talking about their future goals. And they had very common ones at that. They want to contend for NCAA titles, NBA titles, and hopefully have NBA careers. As Kevin Love said, guys, we had that common respect. We might have come from different backgrounds, but we are very similar, and that similarity is all about winning.
All right, Michael, well, they shared a Sports Illustrated cover at the beginning of the year. They were really, along with Michael Beasley, I think, Derrick Rose, Eric Gordon, those five probably the most heralded freshmen in America this year.
It's one thing to get the hype and a whole other thing to live up to the hype. Kevin Love in conference play 19 and 12, OJ 21 points a game. These two gentlemen have lived up to the hype.
And Mayo's guarding Collison now. This is the thing about Mayo, all the games we've seen this year, Marcus. I've been so impressed by Mayo's willingness to defend.
Yeah. And Tim Floyd has called him Tim Floyd just said he's point blank, he's the best ball player I've ever coached. And a lot of it has to do with his effort defensively. Another turnover for OJ.
Oh, and he didn't see the ball coming. Mayo did not see the ball coming, and he fouls Westbrook to prevent a hoop. Now, White Mayo's having a little trouble with the ball. It's 4 turnovers already.
Yeah, I think it's the mouthpiece. I mean, I haven't seen him with this mouthpiece kind of of his mouth, and I mean, right there, just no vision of the basketball, mishandling passes, being careless with the ball out on the floor. I mean, when your mouthpiece is out of your mouth more than it's in your mouth.
You've been playing with it, like you said, Marcus, just like that for the first 10 minutes of the game. Of course, as we referenced earlier, his mom has made the trip. Mom didn't want him to come this far to go to school. OJ has been thrilled with his choice here. Of course, someday there'll be one of the more interesting stories when they tell the tale of OJ Mayo, a young man who played 6 years of high school basketball and may well play only 1 year of college because he had to.
Yeah, in those last 4 years of high school basketball, his teams were a combined 99-5 with 3 state championships. So make no mistake about it, he's not just a fantastic individual player. I mean, he's a winner.
That pass tipped, but got through to Dwight Lewis.
Little flex cut offense. This is some new offense that Tim Floyd is throwing at USC. Some great slips, back cuts.
That's what they did so well at Pauly to UCLA, but that time James Keefe got back and at least made the shot difficult.
I mean, UCLA was going over some entirely different offensive sets that they expected USC to run. USC is doing a lot of flex action, a lot of spread the court, back cuts, slipping on screens.
UCLA's been scoreless for over 4 minutes still, and Keefe's ball rattles out. Keefe another shot block. Gibson battle Westbrook. Oh, this is what Westbrook, that's where he is so strong this year. And Collison out of bounds. And Westbrook has been a phenomenal finisher.
Yeah, he had a great job just slashing and finding his way to the basket after the great hustle on the sideline. A little change of direction against Davon Jefferson, and he got the hops to extend, stretch, and finish.
That's part of his game, Marcus.
Yeah, that's
you
part.
love that game. Part of his game.
And the other part is the defense he's playing right now on O.J. Mayo. I mean, he was really focused and honed in on O.J. Mayo, not allowing him to touch the basketball. And that sees half-court offense.
And now you wonder if USC is starting to gasp a little bit. Westbrook, no, foul. So we played almost 12 minutes, and USC has not made a substitution yet. And they're just starting this last couple of trips, Marcus, like they may be running a little slow.
Well, that's one of the reasons why the mouthpieces are out of the mouth. I mean, it's tougher to breathe with that mouthpiece in. So when you see guys kind of stick it out and kind of sucking in air, trying to get air around that mouthpiece, and you can expect that to be a constant tonight with USC being shorthanded. They're going to make their first substitution right now at the 8:03 mark.
Well, Marcus, yesterday in the Pac-10 there were 4 games. 3 road teams won, and I think this to me is a legitimate measure of the incredible. You can't have this kind of mark, almost 50% road wins, unless you have depth, unless your 7, 8, 9 teams are good basketball teams.
Absolutely.
Neither you or I would have given there any chance of that happening, right, at the beginning of the year?
Not at all. Cal does a great job, goes up, gets a victory on the road against Arizona State. Talked about Stanford beating Arizona, Washington State against Oregon. I mean, those are tough venues to pull out W's on the road.
That's right. Jeff Chapman corrects me. It was all 4 road teams won yesterday. Forgot about Washington.
Yep.
So all 4 road teams were winners.
Let's see a little bit of a struggle with their offensive execution in the half court.
And Gibson finishing.
And when in doubt, a little isolation basketball on the left post. And a good job by Taj Gibson spinning away from the double team. Double team was coming from the top. He spun baseline.
Keith Wilkinson is the sub for USC, 23. He replaced Davon Jefferson. Monterreal in for Love for UCLA.
And once again, Dwight Lewis just face guarding Josh Shipp, not allowing Shipp to even see the basketball, but again, another great offensive play for UCLA.
And of course, USC has been terribly shortened this year by injuries. Not just Daniel Hackett, but previously Casey Cunningham, people that were going to provide depth for them, and UCLA has had the same. One of the few times where they've been almost the first one. Nice cut, Wilkinson.
And that's something USC has picked up in the scouting report as that big-to-big double team comes late because Taj Gibson receives the ball in the short corner. Wilkinson, great job flashing baseline, and I mean right along the baseline. That's an area that will be open against that double team.
And Bamute shovels it. Monterreal contested with the basket. Wilkinson down with it. And then he's called for traveling. Wilkinson hopping on the baseline is called for traveling. Well, the students roaring as they wear their black at USC tonight. Well, when we go to UCLA, we're always showing you the great basketball heritage, and USC's heritage all is the home to an incredible amount of football success here. National championships, Heisman trophies represented in person tonight. How big a game. It's a star-studded night. Matt Leinart in the house, front row seat. Nice to see you, Matt. Pete Carroll, the Trojans football coach, is also here. It's great because, you know, Marcus, you grew up here. It's a huge city. It's a pro city. But these two schools, there's Pete Carroll. We usually see him sitting up a little bit off the court here. There's a big place for this rivalry. It's magnificent. Even in a city this big, this rivalry holds this kind of attention. So we got another.
Timeout on the floor, USC.
We've got a timeout here taken by USC. So USC is just coming out of the timeout, taking a full timeout.
You talk about growing up here in LA. I mean, when you grew up in LA, in the era you know, you're old, you start talking about eras. The era I grew up in the 60s, you were a UCLA basketball fan because of John Wooden in the championships, but a USC football fan. Just got to call it like it is because of the great players, starting with Mike Garrett, the athletic director, who was an Heisman Trophy winner in the mid-'60s, I think 1965, right around there. Then Gary Beban from UCLA won it the next year, and then O.J. Simpson, and on down the line. And
man, you're showing your stuff tonight. I like that.
Oh, no, I was into it, man.
Yeah, you must have been. I'll tell you, you got an array. It's kind of like the first game at Pauley where Ben Howland talked about Denzel Washington being there and the players noticing that and being distracted. We got a pretty star-studded array here tonight. Now we're going to take a quick look behind the scenes of UCLA junior Josh Shipp, subject of our World of Financial Group Dreams Realized. Josh Shipp, his dream job beside hoops. I like that. He doesn't shoot small, does he? Multi-billion-dollar company.
Hey, you gonna dream? You dream. You shoot for the moon and land amongst the stars.
I like that. Most difficult class, statistics. I'm with him on that one. Great basketball family. Josh's older brother Joe, former Pac-10 scoring champion, is now playing. Last time I asked Josh, Joe had just gone to Australia to play. And of course, Jaron coming off the bench for Herb Sendek at Arizona State. So UCLA with the ball out of the double timeouts. USC has already now taken 2 of their allotted 5 for the game.
So now you got the just straight man-to-man defense for USC out of the timeout. I'm looking for the triangle too, but you actually have all 5 players playing good, solid man-to-man defense, which I think throws UCLA off just a little bit. We're prepared to execute something against triangle and 2. Now straight man-to-man.
One change, here it is for UCLA. Love is back in out of the timeout. Love. Man, he must have, how many balls did he shoot from that same spot in shoot-around today and warm-ups tonight?
Well, warm-ups tonight, Scott Garson, the assistant coach for UCLA, made sure, he told Matt Lee, look, I want Kevin to get up about 20 shots from this spot, right there where he just made that shot. He got up about 20 jump shots right before they went into the locker room for their pregame speech.
We joked with him before the game tonight. Someday he's going to be in the three-point contest because he can shoot it from out there.
I told you, he was a good friend of mine. You're a no Jason Capono, though. I know Jason Capono.
There's Love on the defensive glass. That 3 was Love's first points.
Josh Shipp has got to continue to be patient and not try and press the issue against this tough man-to-man defense. Sometimes boxing 1, sometimes triangling 2.
Gibson got a piece of Love, and they let that go, and Love scores.
And Kevin Love's doing a great job showing his mobility on the baseline.
Wilkinson. So UCLA, 4 points the better. It's been a first half that's been played at a pretty good pace here, and that may not favor USC, a thin team. Only 6 men have played.
And that is the $64,000 question. Can USC continue to play at this pace? I say no, they cannot. We saw it up close and personal against Arizona. So, and you get a sense right now that they are slowing the tempo down. Now I'm looking, and a lot of it may be out of necessity, as you see Taj Gibson kind of heave-ho and trying to suck in some air.
Team fouls right now are 5 against USC, 2 against UCLA. UCLA in the blue, their road uniforms. USC wearing for the first time black tonight.
Depending on the outcome of this game, maybe the last time. If they win, you will see them again.
Mute runs it down, and a nice hustle by Angelo Johnson, and it goes out of bounds off Darren Collison in UCLA.
The extra bit of hustle by Angelo Johnson causes Collison to mishandle the basketball right in front of the USC bench. And then booted out with that right foot. Good call by the official, right on top of things.
I'm laughing with you, Marcus, thinking that Pete Carroll and Matt Leinart are sitting here. They know this drill because they've faced it a couple times when USC plays Notre Dame in football. Notre Dame's tried the green jersey routine.
Yep.
That foul going on the Trojans. Gibson's second.
Notre Dame changed at halftime one game, I remember. Came out with some different color, with some green uniforms for the second half.
Against you?
No, against USC in football.
Okay. UCLA is still not shooting well. But turnovers are hurting SC. 8 turnovers Trojans, only 2 for UCLA. Josh ships up a little teardrop, and there's Love. USC is defending its basket extremely well. Gibson kind of sneering down at Love. Mayo, wow. Bad miss by Mayo.
Love missed that putback attempt, but I love the way he is battling and fighting inside just to secure the offensive rebound. He had 25 offensive rebounds for UCLA the first time these two teams met.
Marcus, you're right. He's battling, and the USC's they're sticking right with him.
I mean, they got long, athletic players, especially Taj Gibson, who's challenging and contesting.
3 minutes to go in the half. And Bamute. He has been a huge lift. 8 points for UCLA.
And that's the kind of stuff you don't get again with Aboya and Keith in that spot, in that 4-hole, the power forward spot that Richard and Bamute is holding down right now. Moving without the basketball, nose for the ball, offensive rebounds, the mid-range jump shot.
Knocked away from Angelo Johnson. To the floor, Johnson saves it, but again to the floor, and Bamute, and finally, Love out with it. Collison.
That is a great decision on the part of Darren Collison. I thought the lob may have been open to Westbrook, but Taj Gibson was playing possum. He read it all the way. Collison did the smart thing, improved his distance, and knocked down the 15-footer.
9 USC turnovers. Mayo still hasn't scored. And a foul here on Westbrook. So Ben Howland's team cranking up its defense to open up the biggest lead of the first half. UCLA with its largest lead in the first half. The focus is always on the freshmen. They haven't been much of a factor, at least in scoring. Mayo still scoreless. I'm going to submit, Marcus, key player, Davon Jefferson, the only sub so far for USC. Jefferson went out when he picked up his second foul. And since Jefferson went out, is when UCLA started to separate a little bit.
Yeah, and I think fatigue has definitely been a major factor. And you're right, Davon Jefferson, the first game, 25 and 9 rebounds against UCLA. He's such a tough matchup, especially offensive rebounding a lot of these misses. Another turnover for OJ.
Boy, Mayo struggling offensively in this first half.
Exposing the basketball way too much in this game.
That goes out. Love's ball out of bounds. Back to USC. And it looks like Tim Floyd is intent on keeping Jefferson down, get him through this half with 2 fouls. But Tim Floyd is allowing Taj Gibson to play with 2.
Now, you got to go somewhere else offensively. And Taj Gibson ISO'd against Kevin Love. High is one thing, but Dwight Lewis, the guy with the basketball. There you go.
That breaks the drought.
Yeah.
First points for Mayo.
I mean, you had to have something go through the net for you if you're USC. And that's a great call by Tim Floyd from the sideline. High screen for Mayo. Good delivery by Dwight Lewis.
And now that, as usually happens, a dunk gets the home crowd a little more energized. I see Gibson's having trouble defending in there, and it's still a turnover.
You'll see back in that triangle in 2.
Westbrook continuing to clamp on O.J. Mayo. I don't think Westbrook's been out of the game yet either. He has just briefly. Angelo Johnson set shot. And Mba Mute for UCLA. 4 of the 5 Trojans have played the entire half. The only sub, Wilkinson for Jefferson. Wilkinson, good job there pushing Darren Collison out. Westbrook, tough shot, batted out to the perimeter. Shot clock does not reset. UCLA's going to have to shoot it here. Collison knows it. Collison.
Great job, Darren Collison, recognizing that your offense is in a distressed situation and then using his body to create space to get the teardrop off.
Accurate halftime report to the FSN final score coming up. Mayo against Westbrook. Gives it up. Angelo Johnson. Well, that's precisely what UCLA would have wanted. Mayo to give the ball up.
And O.J. should have been a little bit more selfish, a little more aggressive, trying to create for himself. You would have actually gotten a better shot for Angelo Johnson or another teammate out on the perimeter.
Well, when Davon Jefferson went out of the game, UCLA led by 1. At the half, UCLA leads by 8. Ben Howland's team so sturdy on the road, trying to silence the USC crowd. FSN final score next. UCLA by 8. Once again, USC doing a terrific job of thwarting their opponents from shooting. UCLA shooting under 40 in the half. Marcus, yet an 8-point lead.
Well, UCLA's got 12 more shot attempts up than USC. They've also got 12 offensive rebounds, so that is a killer. And then USC's having a difficult time handling the basketball. That 10-3 turnover disparity has got to be fixed if the Trojans want to duplicate what they did at Carly Cabrini a couple weeks ago.
All right, updates for both sides now. Michael Eaves. Michael?
All right, Ted, starting with UCLA, maybe you heard what Ben Howland was saying because that was a point they raised up. They said we can't fall in love with our first half because we can't shoot that poorly and allow USC to shoot that well if we want to win the second half. And also, we got to limit them to 1 shot every time down. As far as USC is concerned, Tim Floyd reiterated what he told us before the game. He said we have to rebound the ball. And they also said we're not getting back in transition defense. That's killing us, giving up too many easy points as well.
Taj Gibson for USC in a big half. Taj Gibson had 8 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 blocks.
Very active on the interior defensively for UCLA. We talked about it at halftime. Luke Richardson by Mute. Nice job. And this is the kid here, Davon Jefferson, isolated against Kevin Love. A lot of success the first meeting between these two teams. Not a whole lot happening this evening.
Jefferson sat out the last 8 minutes of the first half.
That's a big key.
Well, Mayo again losing the ball.
Take out the mouthpiece. I'm telling you, Ted. He's got that.
I'm starting to believe you.
The big guy, the yellow mouthpiece. I mean, this is the first time I can remember him this season with it being in there. I don't know if he's worn one and it's been smaller or whatever.
O.J. Mayo, we've talked about it this year. Marcus has long arms and spider fingers. And it's hard to believe that he would have the ball taken or losing control as much as he has.
Some of it's carelessness, some of it is mishandling the basketball. And they're going to need O.J. Mayo to shake himself out of the doldrums here in the second half to have a chance to win.
Well, meanwhile, a little redemption going on because, well known here in Los Angeles, Darren Collison had one of the lesser games in his UCLA career last Sunday.
Yeah, and for Darren Collison, he picked up a third foul on a technical foul with Benoit Overton of Washington, and then he was passive defensively for the rest of the evening. And Justin Dittman of Washington took full advantage.
And yeah, Collison looks like he's Collison again today. Angelo Johnson shot doesn't go. Tip does by Taj Gibson again. Now there's the laser love. Westbrook. And Gibson clears it. Marcus Johnson gave that outlet pass that name early this year. And it's so fitting, and there's another turnover. Westbrook makes no mistake. Timeout.
But again, O.J. Mayo's carelessness with I've never seen him this careless and casual with the basketball.
Wow. At least 6 turnovers. And it was UCLA that took the timeout after Westbrook's dunk. Arizona State's Jeff Pendergraft was the U.S. Bank Pac-10 Conference Men's Player of the Week, 29 points last week when the Sun Devils beat Arizona, swept in their rivalry series. A big week for Jeff Pendergraft, and Arizona State followed it up, Marcus, beating Stanford Thursday. Arizona State has 4 wins this year over teams in the RPI top 25. That's as many as any school in the country.
Yeah, that's a great stat for Arizona State. I mean, a team who's looking to kind of just keep the momentum going as the season winds down.
Well, right now, this game is becoming all about turnovers. USC's turnovers and UCLA taking advantage, although their ship is called for a charge.
Well, Josh Shipp, he made up his mind once he crossed midcourt that he was going to take that thing all the way to the hole. Angelo Johnson recognized, steps in, and picks up the offensive foul. And again, a lot of that is just kind of being a little antsy because he hasn't had the number of shot attempts that he feels like he's entitled to in this game because of the box and one triangle and 2 defense.
Josh Shipp's charge, only the 4th foul in the game against UCLA. A great move by Gibson.
That short corner possession by USC. That's the tough spot to double team big to big for UCLA. They've got some good things happening for them offensively when they pump the ball in the short corner.
How about this? It is Gibson that has just about half of USC's points. We haven't said that this year. Mayo. Only 2 points for O.J. Mayo. Sets up Dwight Lewis. But for USC, much of the night has been one and done as far as the shooting.
Now, I thought Dwight Lewis was open about 2 or 3 dribbles sooner than O.J. Mayo delivered the basketball. I thought he dribbled way too long on that possession.
Love did a great job with Love. Man, he just put his backside into Taj Gibson. Did he get some position? Well, look at Gibson's head. I can't believe it either.
His rather ponderous backside. I mean, he's got the broad shoulders. Does a great job with the seal. That's how you seal. You get low, you root your defender out of there to establish low box position.
Boy, that's why Gibson's shaking his head. That's a serious call on him, his 3rd foul.
Unfortunately, you got Taj Gibson at 225. Kevin Love, even though he's in better shape, lost some weight, probably in mid-260s. So just a major strength advantage for K-Love on the inside.
Now, I don't know if he's here, Marcus. I haven't seen Stanley tonight. And if he's not, he's been in every game that we've seen this year.
You know Stan is here somewhere.
Okay. Take your word for it. Kevin Love missed 2 free throws and then stepped out.
But this is a USC venue, so he's up in the cheap sheets probably for him. We usually see him near courtside. But USC gave up 100 tickets just like UCLA gave to USC when they played at Pauley Pavilion. O.J. Mayo has finally taken out the mouthpiece. Chuck that baby aside. See if that changes his luck in this game.
Well, they just picked it up. You know where it was? It was laying about 6 feet to my left. He took it off and he threw it down on the carpet. Mata Real of UCLA in to give Love a breather commits a foul.
I know it sounds silly, but sometimes just something different like that is just enough to throw you off a little bit.
There you got a good look. Boy, they run some nice inbounds plays for him. Transition, and Gibson slots Westbrook shot. Gibson's 5th block. And Taj Gibson is playing the game that Jefferson played at Pauley against UCLA.
Doing a great job of it.
Mayo got stuck and he calls a timeout.
But give UCLA coaching staff tremendous credit because they have designed schemes, defensive schemes, specifically with taking O.J. Mayo out of any kind of an offensive flow. That time he was just swarmed, double teamed right in front of us.
And so Mayo takes a timeout. USC now with only 2 timeouts remaining for the final 16 minutes and change. Thursday night, FSN College Hoops will be right back here at the Galen Center for Oregon and USC. And these are the kind of games that are so crucial for postseason hopes. We'll be with you at 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern in high def Thursday night right here on FSN. And this is what we talk about. Washington State had a road sweep. They've kind of made themselves the 3rd team in the league right now, but you see 6 teams, 4 through 9, still bunched together.
Yeah, and then just a bunch of teams with 5 losses. Washington State, I'm a little surprised they've got 5 losses at this point in the season, but they are starting back on the right road. We had them against UCLA at home, and UCLA won the game, but I thought Washington State, that's when they started to come back and get their swagger again, even though they lost that ball game.
They pummeled USC a week ago yesterday.
Yep.
And then the Cougars turned around and swept the Oregon schools. They've won 3 in a row. Gibson positioning. Lewis not able to get the ball to him. And then Lewis took it himself, and then Bob Mute with another rebound. There's another. It's a great gift for Ben Howland to have now. We need to take Love out of the game, and he's got Bob Mute in there to start cleaning up on the boards.
So this is similar to the lineup that has gone to the Final Four for UCLA the past 2 years, especially the front line with Bob Mute working alongside of Lorenzo Monterreal.
All right, now that's not going to be a timeout. Michael Eggers is saying inadvertent. Now Michael Eggers I believe Michael Eggers said he thought that UCLA had signaled for a timeout. It's an inadvertent whistle. There will be a timeout, though. Jam-packed at the Galen Center, standing all the way around in the upper levels. UCLA leading by 6. One of the great sights today, Marcus, we saw was Daniel Hackett, the injured USC guard, really being a spiritual leader for his team.
Yeah, he was out here exhorting his teammates, hugging guys, patting guys on the behind, and they really missed just the total package that Daniel brings to the team. He's got to strengthen up that core area. He's at a core level 1 now. He's got to get up to a 4 before they allow him to play again, whatever that means.
It's going to be a little bit. Yeah. Shot clock running down here. Collison has to put it up. That's a violation. Now again, just to recap, what happened prior to that timeout was that Ben Howland made a sign off the UCLA bench, and Michael Eggers, one of the referees, mistook that, thought Ben Howland was calling for a timeout, so it was simply an inadvertent whistle. That's why there was no reset of the shot clock.
Yeah, call a 1-up. He thought he was saying timeout.
Lewis curling, and Dwight Lewis hits. So USC's outscored the Bruins so far 8-4 in this half.
Yeah, and a nice job. Taj Gibson carried the load for most of this game, so now you've got to have other players really step up and meet the challenge as a Mayo with his struggles. I don't expect him to stay down for long, but Davon Jefferson, Dwight Lewis have got to stay aggressive.
And remember, USC playing Iron Man here. 4 of their 5 men have not come out of the game as Aboya scores.
Josh Shipp with the penetrate, stumble, and dish. Ball winds up in Aboya's hands for the finish.
The only USC player that has come out of this game was Davon Jefferson in the first half of fouls. The other 4 men have gone wire to wire.
And again, we'll keep an eye on these guys for USC around that 10-minute mark.
Gibson hit that ball down and hit Aboya's leg. Perhaps his shoe, but it's another USC turnover, their 13th. Collison, there's Gibson to clean it up. Well, Gibson is just having a big game inside.
And this is the dangerous tempo for USC, kind of pushing it up the floor quickly. Angelo Johnson pushes up, everybody else kind of just automatically exerts a lot of energy trying to keep up with him.
And Mayo there, swinging left, creates a foul on Westbrook. I'm trying to think, Marcus, we've seen a lot of USC this year. I'm not sure anybody so far has done the defensive job on Mayo that Westbrook has.
And Westbrook, somebody from the USC bench said something to him. He just kind of shook his head like, no, he's not touching the basketball. I'm going to try and keep him on lockdown.
We saw Kansas here, the terrific defensive team, but I can't recall anybody clamping Mayo like this.
He's doing a great job. And the thing about Westbrook, he's just as long, just as athletic. Same kind of foot speed, so it's a tough matchup for O.J. Mayo to score.
On Love, took that away from Jefferson, and Jefferson takes it back. And then it's out of Jefferson's leg.
Great recovery, Darren Collison, after Davon Jefferson just made a terrific play, digging out the loose ball near midcourt. Collison kind of got himself into the mix and made a pest, just a general pest of himself as he pokes it off of Davon Jefferson's hand, out of his hands and off his knee.
But it's just, you can see the reactions on the USC bench. These turnovers are just cringing at the number of lost opportunities. And You've got to admire these guys because the USC players, I mean, they are playing. This is throwback. It's as if it's a 5-on-5 Ironman game to them. And no help.
Yeah, but you just wonder, it's just kind of, it's been a keep at bay kind of a game for UCLA. They've just been able to maintain this 5, 6, 8-point victory.
Love goes left.
Again, the setup, the seal, the right box, and then showed the advantages of working out extensively with assistant coach Donnie Daniels on the post-up moves.
And the left hand, so nice. 7 points for Love and 5 rebounds.
You give a guy with that kind of size the ability to go both ways when he catches it down low. It makes him virtually unstoppable because you're not going to be able to get around it.
O.J. Mayo has only had 4 shots in this game. That's astonishing. 4 shots. Angelo Johnson hits his first points. He's not a guy, he only scored about 4.4 a game.
Once again, they can live with that, as you talked about in the first half. You get Angelo Johnson being the guy that has to carry you offensively, then you've got USC right where you want it.
Love, his second 3. That has become such a developing weapon for Love.
Started out the season kind of struggling from that range, but once he got into better condition, now the big boy is up to about 43%.
And we rave about Mayo and the beautiful release. Yeah, Love has a great release too. Great release. Mayo from the outside. Cleared in Bamute, so now UCLA can push this to double figures for the first time.
Looking at the pride that Russell Westbrook takes in his defense. Mayo missed that long jump shot. Westbrook ran down the court shaking his head like, nah, nothing.
Pick and pop. Love short, yep.
O.J. Mayo has a lot of pride himself.
That is O.J. Mayo's 7th turnover. Staggering number, and Collison pays it off at the other end and one.
Sometimes too much pride is not a good thing. As O.J. Mayo forces the issue into traffic, gets the turnover, the Bruins extend their lead.
We're going to let you take a look at the Bruins and the Trojans from Exmo. Don't miss this.
The Exmo, don't lie. And right there you see the great athleticism, the hops of Josh Shipp on the follow, and then look at the form, elbows right at the rim, and then leave it up there, loosey-goosey. O.J. Mayo, one of the few times he's been able to shake free of Russell Westbrook.
That's Mayo's basket, by the way, tonight. You just saw it.
Yeah, the teardrop there in Collison. I mean, this is just like poetry in motion. This is like ballet, like Barishnikov. Love gets fouled here. Watch him kind of slide back and wears his emotions on his sleeve.
Yeah. Acting like an outside player now. Like, yeah, I got fouled on that too.
Right, hey.
But who about this? Love has 2 threes. He has 10 points. O.J. Mayo, that dunk you saw in the Exmo, is the only points of this night for O.J. Mayo. 2 points. He does have 7 rebounds and 7 turnovers.
He's been in double figures
every game.
Every single game, 21 points a game in Pac-10 conference play. So that gives you an idea of the outstanding. And it's been Russell Westbrook pretty much. I mean, UCLA's team defense has caused the turnovers, but Russell Westbrook has kind of been the lead guy at the point of attack. Now Westbrook is out. Luke Richard and Bamute will defend against O.J. Mayo. We'll see if Mayo has a little bit better luck against a taller defender, maybe not as quick as Westbrook.
Rare out for Westbrook.
5-second violation.
Close. And Johnson slammed it out off Collison's leg.
Don't aim for the face.
I've got to tell you this. I told you this before the game. With the Tim Thursday night up in Eugene, Tim Morris of Washington had an inbounds play, pressured, in danger of a 5-second count, and he threw the ball, and I forget which Oregon player was defending him. He threw it off the player's leg and had a bounce. Much better. I almost fell off my chair when I saw it. Now for Du Bois is the player last Sunday that took it right off the face. And the good news out of all of it is that Du Bois was not hurt.
Yeah, he had the problem with the eye socket fracture. And that play is created.
Clinton lived up for a few days, didn't it?
Quite the controversy. It had some legs. Kind of a heads up, heads off play at the same time.
USC still not made a sub in the second half, and 4 of their 5 players have played the entire game.
Getting real close to that 10-minute mark.
Mayo. And O.J. Mayo leaning in. If USC's going to make a run here, it may require O.J. Mayo to get on the run.
That time Mayo, now he was kind of been settling for the jumpers against the shorter defender Westbrook, against the taller defender, takes it to the hole up and over against Muto.
That's where it travels. Just a minute ago, Darren Collison, how about this quick change? This is what Arizona was talking about a month ago with Bayless, right? The shoot gate that we had with Bayless at Stanford.
Yeah, he takes it from Matt Lee. You're not going to be using these, Matt, at least not for the foreseeable future in this game. Give him up, baby.
That's a teammate.
That's a teammate.
That'll get Matt Lee. Matt Lee's a San Francisco young man. They'll give him a little pop for that. Jefferson stepped out of bounds.
And Davon with he was the one guy from USC talking the trash before the game. No excuses, no concussions, none of that. Bring the physicalness. And so far, again, he just not. You put all that pressure on yourself, and he hasn't delivered.
Well, USC won it, Paulie, despite all those turnovers. It's not going to look like the same night tonight. If they can turn this fast, and here comes Mayo.
I think Mayo's going to have to be the guy to do it, and now Westbrook is matched up against him defensively. And not so much trying to force shots, but just creating. If his shot's not there, try and hit a Lewis or Taj Gibson for medium range short jump shots.
Well, Marcus, the other thing we've seen, Mayo has played a ton of minutes this year. He can hold up to this. Lewis gets a drop, a dance and a drop.
I mean, Dwight Lewis, you know your teammate is struggling, O.J. Mayo. If you're Dwight Lewis now, you're allowed to be aggressive and do what you did so well a few weeks back in Oregon.
UCLA timeout. The Bruins still up 8.
You talked about those long minutes O.J. Mayo plays. 36 minutes a game leads the Pac-10. And this is not easy on your legs when you're playing those types of minutes. This is not easy when you're playing 5 minutes a game. All the running around he's doing, trying to shake himself free, gets double teams, got to give us the basketball early. So we'll see how, as you talk about him, he's used to playing the long minutes, but he has worked extremely hard to reach at every touch. So down the stretch, how much is he going to have left in the tank?
Well, we saw USC 3 weekends ago up in Eugene. Mayo, Hackett played that game, and Lewis all played over 40 minutes, and USC won over. Don't forget that we're just a couple of weeks away now from the Pacific Life Pac-10 Tournament, Staples Center in Los Angeles. It's going to be the best one ever with the incredible depth of this conference. You can catch all 9 games for as little as $140. Ticketmaster.com, your site for the best seats. Agoya. Love. And that is a foul. Love brought that ball down to the waist. USC went in for it, and Dwight Lewis is called for the foul.
With a couple of things in that possession. I mean, and you see the jump shot by Agoya not even close. As James Keefe going to be inserted into the lineup. You're going to need somebody that can knock down that short jumper. But then Kevin Love just, again, working extremely hard. He brought it down in a crowd trying to protect it. Didn't have his balance, I think, to go right back up with it.
I think the other thing, Marcus, on that replay, you could see Gibson was tentative. He's up 3, and there's still 9 minutes to go.
Which means that, to me, you have to try and find a way to get Taj Gibson the basketball. He has been the offensive guy for USC up until this point in the game, and has had very limited touches over the last 3 or 4 minutes of this game.
Love is having an unusual struggle at the foul line tonight, but James Keefe pulled in the rebound.
UCLA bigs working a lot. Keefe and Love working a lot this afternoon on kind of catch and shoot, shot fake, one dribble, 3-point shots.
That's on the screen. They got James Keefe. Bad screen. His second. 4 fouls on UCLA now, 3 on USC.
That's a Ben Holland staple. He teaches his guys to set aggressive screens. He doesn't mind you get a call for the occasional foul for a moving screen. More often times than not, you're going to get away with that, and you're going to free up your jump shooter.
Mayo gave up a shot. Lewis wide open.
Great. Well, that's what I'm talking about. You don't have to carry the load yourself in terms of scoring, but your offense definitely has to continue to run through O.J. Mayo.
So Dwight Lewis 3, and that gets it. Galen Center standing. Daytona 500 day. We had a little collision there. Coming around the corner, and foul's going on Dwight Lewis.
And James keeps making that point. I mean, he set the same type of screen where you kind of adjusted a little bit to his left twice on that possession. Didn't get called for a foul. Got Dwight Lewis at a disadvantage and caused Dwight Lewis to run over Josh Shipp and get a foul.
That's 3 on Lewis, 3 on Gibson. The 2 of the USC Ironmen now with 3 fouls. No foul trouble for UCLA. In fact, USC has not shot a free throw yet in this game.
That's remarkable. As physical as this game has been.
Held ball. And possession stays UCLA.
Possession Bruins. UCLA basketball.
There was some hope tonight on the USC side. The freshman Marcus Simmons might play, but apparently at this point in the game, you got to believe it'll only be out of necessity. And that's been another part of the USC story. They lost Casey Cunningham, a reserve forward for the year. Daniel Hackett out. Simmons, who Tim Floyd said today, he thought Marcus Simmons was going to be a starter this year for him. Going to be a Kyle Weaver type of player. And has barely played because of a nagging ankle injury.
That high ankle sprain on Monroe, Louisiana. They leverage versatility, 6'7", multi-position.
Shot clock running. Jefferson throws it. So now, if USC scores on this trip, it's going to have a little different tone here in the Galen Center. Gibson, isolated against Monterreal. Oh, Monterreal, the defender, stands in there and blocks Gibson.
Great job anticipating by Lorenzo Monterreal, and that's what he does a terrific job of. And he is as solid as they come from the waist down. It's tough to move him, tough to establish position on the inside.
Now, if UCLA scores here, that could be a pivotal sequence. Allison getting a screen that goes the other way.
Got to get something up.
No, Palmer. Tim Floyd has been working that one. He has really been working. The UCLA dribblers are palming the ball, and he gets a call here. So coming out of the timeout, the Trojans will have another shot to close the 6-point Bruin lead. A great rivalry between UCLA and USC. Marcus Johnson, you've been a part of so many of them for so many years. Tell us what kind of a role Daniel Hackett's playing in this one tonight.
Well, in Marcus's moment, once the news came out that Daniel Hackett had the stress fracture in his back off of this play where the twist in the land, they think caused the strained muscle, torn muscle, and the stress fracture all in one. You read the internet sites for UCLA this week, the Bruin Zone, the Bruin Report online. It was all about love and caring and concern for Daniel Hackett, which really kind of surprised me. I was surprised, especially rivalry week and everything that happens during rivalry week when the SC would come over and paint our Bruin bear like cardinal and gold, or all kinds of the dorms. The lights would be lit up.
Harmless little tricks,
the lights would be lit up in the dorms off the 405 to say some things about USC, but just the concern and caring really puts it into perspective that it's still just a basketball game, and I was really proud of my fellow Bruin alumni for the way they handled that Hackett situation.
Well, USC has found a way tonight, as you suspected they would. They found a way to stay in it. And a good carom there, and Gibson will go to the line. And again, just to put this in perspective, UCLA, top 10 team. They've only lost one road game all year. That was last Sunday in Washington. And here's USC playing they've made one substitution in 33.5 minutes. Tim Floyd has made one sub.
And here we go into the anchor leg of this relay race, and down the stretch we'll see what the Trojans have left, but you have to admire the fight that they have displayed up until this point in the game.
First free throw of the night for the Trojans. And again, we see it just about every time we tune into a Pac-10 game. You see another evidence of the depth of this conference.
And I'm looking at the body language. I mean, at this point in the game, I would expect USC guys to be slumped over, grabbing their shorts, but they're standing straight up, breathing easy. So they may have more left than I thought they would at this stage with 6:30 left. USC down by 4.
And the USC fans standing up all around the Galen Center. We thought they might inside, and Bonamute and one.
Good execution by UCLA. A lot of times Kevin Love gets the benefit of that cross-screen baseline, but this time he's the one setting the screen, frees up Luke Richard and Bonamute. And he does a nice job just kind of concentrating through the contact and extending under the rim. That's not an easy shot.
Davon Jefferson's third foul. Quick up to Dwight Lewis. Russell Westbrook continuing. The guard Mayo. Pick and pop here to Gibson, but that's not a shooting threat. Lewis in trouble, stepped out of bounds.
I can't believe no foul was called on the contact baseline, but I thought it was pretty good defensive position against Dwight Lewis that time by Darren Collison.
So now Collison walks it back. Mayo and Westbrook. They've been at the hip tonight, haven't they?
Yes, they have indeed. That's a nice job by Westbrook creating an open shot for Luke Richard and Bonamute. I like the way Westbrook called Kevin Love back into the post. Repost. He didn't pass him the basketball, but just a nice job of directing by Russell Westbrook.
So Mayo there creates a little contact. Draws the third foul on Westbrook, 6th UCLA. So the next UCLA foul on each one will start sending USC to the line. Boy, that would have been a big one to, again, bring the noise level up here.
I mean, great execution out of the inbounds play for USC. Little staggered double screen for O.J. Mayo. He got the look he wanted, just couldn't convert it. We'll be seeing Russell Westbrook in his dreams tonight, number 0.
Westbrook going to take Mayo. He's got to shoot it, throws it up, and they'll be back to USC. Got to say, Marcus, we've watched these teams so much this year. USC's defensive persistence is very impressive.
That's what's kept them in this game.
Lewis smothered. There's Bonamute and Love.
Lewis and Tim Floyd. Neither can believe no whistle was blown. Seemed like a lot of contact on the play going against two bigs inside. Lewis is holding 10 on that drive, was to draw contact, get a foul.
Remember these USC players, 4 of them Ironmen tonight, playing defense, playing 30 to 35 seconds each possession. Collison's got to put it up. And it's cleared again by Jefferson. Well, USC's defense and rebounding are keeping them in it. Now can they score?
You factor in the Iron Man element. That's amazing. It's at the offensive end.
Yes.
You got turnover stepping on the end line. You got Dwight Lewis with a shot block trying to draw contact. Mayo with the wide open miss off the inbounds play. That's where the Trojans are having trouble trying to put a 6-point UCLA lead.
UCLA has scored 1 basket in the last 7 minutes, and they still lead by 6. Because the Trojans have just had all kinds of trouble converting. Well, fans, if you go to Pac10.org, the official website of the Pac-10 Conference, you can see the logo on the homepage, the logo you see right there on your right. Click on that, you'll have a chance to enter to win 2 tickets to the Pacific Life Pac-10 Men's Tournament coming up March 12 to 15 at Staples Center.
fatigue kind of reared its head in a myriad of different ways, and I think that pass that was overthrown to Devon Jefferson and some of the decisions of USC, O.J. Mayo being just a little off on his jump shot, may have something to do with the long, hard minutes of the kind of defense, not only that they played against O.J., but the kind of defense that USC has played against UCLA. That takes a lot out of your legs, too.
Well, USC, and it's been that's a result of the stories we've been telling tonight. So many players that Tim Floyd counted on to be part of his bench for myriads of reasons aren't around. The player Kyle Austin transferred. Mamadou Diarra, 7-footer. They hope he'd be a big man off the bench. He's been redshirted. Marcus Simmons has barely played. Casey Cunningham hurt. Now Daniel Hackett hurt. So
yeah, and
the reality is there isn't much of a bench for Tim Floyd.
And another stat along those lines too is USC, they get 96% of their scoring from their underclassmen. So you got some inexperienced guys trying to carry the load, and there's going to be droughts, there's going to be indecision, there's going to be guys who are not used to being in these kinds of difficult circumstances.
Well, Marcus, I'm just thinking, and a lot of years of watching, I can't remember a game like this. We have 3:41 left, and USC has made one substitution in this game. And they've had 4 men out here that have already played 36 minutes. Wilkinson for Jefferson for the final 8 minutes of the first half is the only sub tonight for USC.
I'm laughing because when we won John Wooden's last championship in '75, he played 6 against Kentucky in the final game.
Is that right?
Yep.
Well, I mean, bench is overrated in the college game. That bench point stat's not, I don't think it's big a deal. But this is a little bit too extreme. And the Iron Man like this. Mbamute, rebounded by Mayo.
And that being said, it's still USC is right in a position to take this game, to steal this game. It would be a steal on their home court, but they're in a great position to do so.
Mayo. But as cold as UCLA has been, the Trojans have been right there. And this game's been stuck here in the 40s for a long time.
Taj Gibson, understandably frustrated that he did not even get a look in the post that time. O.J. Mayo raises from about 28 feet from the basket.
Now Love gets a touch. And Love, look at Love following his own.
That's what I talked about in that first half. The battle and the fight of Kevin Love against the quicker, more athletic bigs of USC has been remarkable.
And Kevin Love, 13 points now. And he gives UCLA an 8-point lead. But UCLA had been 9 minutes with 1 basket until Kevin Love's offensive putback just prior to this break. The Trojans have now gone 4 minutes without scoring, so the offenses have hit a wall here, Marcus, in the closing stretch of this game.
And, a lot of it can be attributed to fatigue, but also, UCLA, that's one of the areas that they're trying to shore up their defense, and here's Kevin Love just out fighting, out quicking the SC bigs, and you get him a chance to get his mitts, his considerably large-sized mitts on the basketball, and the strength that he's got in his forearms, he's going to pull that thing in.
UCLA now will finish with their starting 5, and USC the same 5 that have played the whole half. Jefferson in, Gibson with a tip and a foul. So Jefferson is going to get to the line, and Mbamute, UCLA picks up his second. So USC will get to the line for just the second time in the game. Taj Gibson, Marcus, you referenced him a minute ago. 16 points, 11 boards, 5 blocks.
He's played a great game. And it's understandable why he was a little frustrated when he didn't even get a look when he posted up when O.J. Mayo shot the long jump shot. But Taj, I expected a lot more out of him in terms of that kind of production this year. But, just not a lot of shots going around when you got the kind of talent that USC has on the floor.
And Davon Jefferson, who said this week in the paper, tell then UCLA to come with something tonight. You may hear about it. He has 4 points and 4 rebounds.
I thought that Washington game was a good wake-up call for UCLA, as Washington was the aggressor. That's usually been a trademark of the Bruins.
Westbrook went up, came back down with it. Right in front of his bench, though. Ben Howland telling him shot clock running. And out of bounds to USC. So the Trojans haven't scored in almost 5 minutes, and they still have a chance. Mayo. Trapped inside, Travis. That will be the 9th turnover.
Wow. He hit double-figure turnovers before he will points, but good help defense by Kevin Love. Anticipated where Mayo was going to land on the big jump stop. He was there, forced him into a turnover. UCLA taking some time off the clock, going to be patient, work it down below 10 before they look to shoot the ball.
Love hasn't been as big a factor. Still double-double though. 13 points, 10 boards.
50 to 42, several minutes left in this game. It's time where USC wanted to score.
Westbrook went up, steals the rebound inside. And now Angelo Johnson out. Dwight Lewis. And a foul. So USC still alive with a minute to go.
Still alive, and Dwight Lewis continues to force the issue. That time, penetration with purpose gets him to the free throw line. There's similar play to the one he took to the basket when no whistle was blown.
I was looking here, Marcus, USC players, watching how they're breathing. I mean, this is some performance by 4 of them. Lewis, Johnson, Mayo, and Gibson. Yeah. They have gone wire to wire.
Yeah, looking at the body language now, there's hands on hips, it's labored breathing, heaving with the chest, pulling on the shorts. What you would expect.
Yep, and it's something. Lewis walks the line, makes both now the long ball to Westbrook. And Mayo fouls. Mayo had to. So Mayo fouling his second. And that is USC 6. That's not a shooting foul.
It's a smart play by O.J. Mayo, and even smarter play to try and break the fall of Russell Westbrook, to help him up, show the official that there's no animosity. There was no malice in the intent, so don't call the intentional foul, which the officials didn't. So he stopped the bucket, and there's no free throws, so it's a win-win situation for USC.
FSN final score coming up. Keith Wilkinson in for Jefferson. First change of the second half.
Now the intentional foul, it's the pseudo-intentional foul.
Yeah, Mamute, right?
By Keith Wilkinson, playing aggressive perimeter defense. We saw a similar thing last year USC did against Lorenzo Mata down the stretch. Mata was all the way down away from the basketball. Tim Floyd had him fouled. No intentional was called.
Right. Well, if you do it the right way, it's smart, isn't it?
It's real smart, but it's supposed to be a point of emphasis with the officials to avoid situations like this.
But you can't just pick the guy you want to shoot.
Yeah, well, that's what they did.
Mamute 70% this year. And USC hasn't. Jefferson came back in. Travel on Mayo. Unbelievable. What a story this has been tonight. Well, UCLA has defended O.J. Mayo. And has maybe the better word is they've neutralized him. 10 turnovers.
And a lot of it, again, just kind of carelessness even that time, trying to get out in transition without surveying and seeing what's in front of you.
Well, now Dwight Lewis just has to foul, and so Josh Shipp, an 86% foul shooter, to the line.
Russell Westbrook is getting attended to on the sideline. As Ben Howland is involved in an animated discussion with the official. I think a lot of it having to do with the foul on Luke Richard and Mamute.
All right, now UCLA is going to take a timeout. Their final. Getting Westbrook patched up. Well, our Pontiac Pac-10 game-changing performance tonight is turned in by that man, Russell Westbrook of the UCLA Bruins, and his defense against O.J. Mayo.
Just had him in lockdown. Did a great job just kind of maintaining contact, playing tag. You're going to see right there, tag. I'm keeping an arm's length from you at all times. And with some help from his teammates, O.J. Mayo, probably the most frustrating game of his long, illustrious career, especially in this kind of a stage.
And Mayo going to be the first, unless there's a miracle run here, the first game in his USC season that he hasn't scored double figures, only 4 points and 10 turnovers. Pontiac's going to award the UCLA Bruins General Scholarship Fund $1,000 for Westbrook's defense tonight. Pontiac, official performance machines of the Pac-10 and NCAA. Mayo does have 9 rebounds. Give him credit on that. He's been a good defensive rebounder, but we've seen him just, it seems like Marcus, he can get shots when he wants to. Not tonight.
And again, Russell Westbrook giving him no room to breathe, and that was one of the points of emphasis for UCLA at their shoot-around this afternoon. Kind of defending O.J. Mayo. And the help that Russell Westbrook was going to would get, but he was pretty much on his own to fight through the screens and stay in his face and do a pest.
Ship with another, so Ship, quiet scoring night, 6 points. Now USC has to move quickly. And Lewis hits it. Floyd trying to get a quick press and foul, but UCLA got it in quick. And they can't foul. And now they foul Collison, who's the best foul shooter of them all.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook was the guy they would have liked to have gotten to in the backcourt, but he got rid of the basketball too quickly. But all these UCLA players, I mean, and especially in Pac-10 play, the UCLA's up around, 78%?
They're number 1 in the conference.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a big key to their success.
Well, we're going to have more rivalry Pac-10 hoops next Sunday night. We'll have the Bay Area rivalry game, Cal and Stanford. I had another Pac-10 coach tell me that he thinks Ryan Anderson of Cal's the best player in the conference. That's 2 this year.
Yeah.
Who said that to me? Hard to argue.
Look at the numbers he's put up.
Gibson, double dribble action. And now the UCLA players starting to smile as they're, and Marcus, you said fatigue shows up in a lot of different ways.
Yep.
22 turnovers.
That's one way.
USC, yep. The hope's starting to die for the Trojans, but you've got to give these players an immense amount of credit for USC. 4 of them, well, looks like Dwight Lewis is gone. He just fouled out. So Lewis is fouled out. He'll come 20 seconds rather short of a 40-minute game. And the other 3 men, Mayo, Gibson, and Angelo Johnson, are going to go 40 minutes.
Yeah, tough loss for USC. Tough loss to have to play without Daniel Hackett, and that's major. And you saw it tonight because this is a team, as you've talked about, Ted, without a lot of depth anyway.
Yep. And it's going to make things huge. The Southern California schools stay here next weekend. The Oregon schools visit. And we'll have Oregon USC here Thursday night. It's going to be a huge game for those 2 teams. But UCLA, another road win. And guess what? At the end of this game, they've now been 63, the updated tally, 63 Pac-10 conference games, and the road team has won 32, more than the home team.
Yeah, we talked about regrouping in our open, and for UCLA, nice job, especially from the aspect of mental toughness, something that they didn't show a lot of in Seattle. They showed it big time here at the Galen Center at USC.
And UCLA stays atop the conference 10-2. with the Oregon schools coming to town next weekend. Stay tuned for the FSN Final Score coming up next in most regions with Marcus Johnson, Michael Eaves, and our entire crew. Ted Robinson saying good night from Los Angeles.